People think obsession looks like passion, but it doesn't. Obsession is isolation, repetition. It looks like doing the same thing long after it stops being exciting.
Is when he invite me at lunch after the training session. So he said, Patrice, let's go to my house. I was like, okay, I was really excited. Let's have some like good food, proper food. We had a hard training session. When I arrived, the table was already, salad, plain chicken, water, no bread, or, no baguette like the French, we love it, nothing. I want a piece of chicken. We start eating and I was like, okay, maybe, the main course is coming or something is coming. Nothing. He said, let's stand up, let's play two touch in his garden. So we start to play football in his garden. And I start to think this is like a really weird, kind of lunch. So after that, he said, let's go swimming. I said, okay, Cristiano, we just finished eating. I don't want to vomit in your pool. And we start swimming like really slow. And he was like swimming, like, I think he was like doing like the Olympic. Anyway, after that, he said, actually, let's go to the sauna. I said, wait a minute, Cristiano, I respect you, I love you, but you say like we're going to have a nice lunch. I just feel like we had a second training session. I will never come again to your house. And he started laughing and everything. You should tell me. I said, no, but I am your guest. You should treat me better next time. So
After training, everybody went home. Ronaldo didn't. He would drag Nani back onto the pitch. He would force him into one-on-one drills. If he lost, he got angry, but he would restart again and again until he won. Not once, not twice, not 10 times, but enough times that it felt permanent. That is not passion. That is. Leonardo da Vinci would dissect human corpses in secret, not for fame, not for recognition, but because he needed to understand the muscle, the bone, the motion, life. He needed to have a deeper understanding of human anatomy. So he risked being called an outcast, or at that time, probably even hanged or executed. He risked all of that because he was obsessed with the human body. Kobe Bryant once showed up to practice at 4 a.m. By the time his teammates arrived, he was already drenched in sweat because he had been there for hours. And you're probably thinking, that sounds like discipline, but no. Discipline stops when it gets uncomfortable. Discipline usually fails when things become boring. Obsession doesn't. Welcome to the Train of Thought podcast. And today, we're talking about the dangerous power of obsession. Cue the intro. And I'll tell you something that I'm absolutely obsessed about: growing the Train of Thought community. So if you haven't liked this video, please, that is the best free thing that you can do for me. Like this video, comment on this video, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe. If you've seen my face today, you may not see it tomorrow. If you subscribe, you'll be guaranteed to see it. Let's keep it moving. We tend to think that obsession is dangerous, mainly because Hollywood has painted a weird picture of it. But the truth is, it is the only behavior that has ever produced consistent greatness, even among mediocre people. And the contradiction is, the same traits that build legends, it also destroys balance, relationships, and sometimes sanity. So the real question is obsession a superpower or a slow form of self-destruction? And more importantly, why do we admire it only after it works? Because before success, we call it unhealthy, excessive, too much, but after we succeed, we call it genius. So what actually is obsession, and why does it separate the average from the unforgettable? Let's go back a bit to the early Manchester United training ground under Sir Alex Ferguson's time. Ronaldo wasn't the most naturally gifted player when he arrived. There were a lot of players on the pitch that were better than he was. In fact, Wayne Rooney had a longer shot than Cristiano Ronaldo, but he became the most relentless. Teammates would complain about extra drills, he would demand for more. Kobe had a rule that if his teammates trained for 2 hours, he trained for 4. Not because he had to, but because he needed it for him to feel and to actually be ahead. That was the Mamba mentality. and Leonardo da Vinci, he didn't just paint, he studied water flow, bird flight, human anatomy. And the interesting part of all of that is he didn't finish many of his works because his obsession kept pulling him deeper and deeper, but not wider. Da Vinci's famous last words said, "I have offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality that it should have." He was so obsessed with achieving perfection with his work that despite him having been the man that created the first blueprints of air travel, helicopters, a lot of explosives, painted the Mona Lisa, drew the Vitruvian Man, he still felt like he had come short. But that is also where it gets paradoxical because obsession doesn't always look efficient. Sometimes it looks irrational. In fact, most of the time, it looks irrational. But that irration can actually be explained by science. And there are 3 scientific truths that I've prepared for you to help you understand how obsession works and how it affects us. So let's get into it. Truth number 1, obsession rewires your brain. What you repeatedly focus on, your brain starts to prioritize. This is called neuroplasticity. The more you do something, the stronger the neural pathways in your brain become. But here's the catch. Your brain doesn't care if what you're obsessing over is healthy. It only cares if it's repeated. So obsession literally reshapes your mind, but for better or for worse. If you get obsessed with negative things, you'll become very good at those negative things, and vice versa. The second truth is that obsession leads to directional dopamine. People think dopamine is only about pleasure, but it's actually about pursuit. Obsession creates a loop. Your effort leads to progress, which leads to a reward, which leads to more effort. This loop becomes addictive, not because of the outcome, but because of the chase. Every time you chase and hit a milestone, your brain is rewarded and it wants to hit another milestone. And you're probably wondering, isn't that dangerous? Isn't that a treadmill? Yes, but here's the interesting part. The most successful people, they don't avoid this loop. They weaponize it. They keep aiming for greater because in this year of 2026, the human race is still far back in many things. So there is no limit to what you can achieve. There is no limit to how much you can reward your brain for getting better. Why not be on the treadmill? The third truth is that obsession narrows reality. When you're obsessed, everything else becomes background noise. Relationships can fade, time disappears, balance becomes irrelevant. This is why obsessed people always look extreme. They're always crazy. Something is always off in the head. But that's because they are. This is also why they move faster, better, smarter, sharper, and just overall more impressive than everybody else. And you can argue some points that obsession ruins lives and that it leads to burnout and that it's unhealthy. That is true, but I have a counter for you. A lack of obsession ruins potential. Most people don't burn out. They fade out. They never go far enough in anything to ever reach burnout. So for so many people, what they call burnout is they're just exhausted. They're just tired from the hustle, but they're not actually burnt out because they haven't reached far enough to actually reach burnout. Is this to say burnout is not real? Absolutely not. But the amount of work that it actually takes for you to get there is actually a lot, and very few people have put that work in to actually achieve or reach burnout. You'll be surprised how much the human body can endure. So the problem isn't obsession, it's misdirected obsession. If you obsess over the wrong things, you will get amazing results, but they'll be wrong. And the reverse is true. Today, we scroll, we are addicted to validation, we have distractions. We are already obsessed, but with the wrong things. So the question isn't, should you be obsessed? It is, what are you currently obsessed with? And in which direction is it taking you? Here's the truth most people avoid. You cannot be exceptional without being unreasonable. In the words of Jay-Z, the phase I'm on, love, I won't believe it either. I'll be like, Jay-Z's a cheater. He wouldn't listen to reason either. He was very unreasonable in his pursuit for success, and you can see the results. Balance can create stability, but obsession is what creates transformation. And you cannot have both at the same level. You actually have to make a sacrifice. Ronaldo chose repetition and grinding over comfort. Kobe chose mastery over sleep. Da Vinci chose curiosity over completion and safety. They all lost something, but they gained something that the world couldn't ignore. So the real goal isn't blind obsession. It is intentional obsession. Know what it is you're obsessing over and what the outcome should be and what you are willing to lose to achieve it. Some people may think obsession is something some people are born with and others are born without, but the answer is no. Obsession is built through reinforcement, and we're going to talk about this more later. If you do something and you see progress, your brain will reward you and you will repeat. Obsession is engineered over time. You have to fall in love with the process more than the outcome. Where people normally fall off is they want the outcome to come faster than the progress. And you may also ask, how do you become obsessed? Well, you don't start with obsession. You start with exposure. Expose yourself to the thing that you want to be obsessed with. And then you add consistency and then progress, and then it becomes your identity. And you don't force obsession. You grow into it. There's also a fear of losing people during your obsession phase. Of course, you will lose people, but here's the reality. People support balance. They rarely understand transformation. Transformation most of the times is going to require distance. You won't be losing people, but you'll be outgrowing misalignment with certain people that either don't understand where you're going or don't belong where you're going. It is okay to lose those people, even if it's the most uncomfortable situation to be in. But how do you develop obsession? I hear you ask. Number one, start with proximity, not passion. People think you need to love something first for you to develop an obsession for it. But that's wrong. You just need to stay around it long enough for you to start feeling or developing feelings for it. Exposure is what creates interest. Interest is what creates investment. Investment is what creates obsession. Number two, track visible progress. Obsession heavily feeds on progress. If you can't see improvement, your brain starts disengaging. You have to make your progress measurable. And when I talk about progress, I'm talking about intrinsic progress and not extrinsic progress. Because when you are obsessed with something and you're building something, many times you may lose motivation, you may lose energy because the world is not showing you that what you're building is the right thing. The external world is not what you should use to measure your progress. Your internal world is what you use to measure. So for example, if you're a content creator, the number of views and likes and shares that you get on a video should not be what you measure your success with. It should be your own improvement. The video you made today, is it better than the one you made yesterday? You have to fall in love with that kind of progress. Number three, create identity lock-in. Don't say, I do this. Say, I am this. This identity sort of removes negotiation. So don't say, oh, I do some content. I do some business on the side. Say, I'm a content creator. Say, I'm a business person. The moment you bring your identity to the thing you want to be obsessed with, it connects you more to it and is more than likely to make you pursue it because now it's part of who you are. Number four, remove competing addictions. You cannot be obsessed with three things at the same time, at the same level. Choose which one is more important to pursue and be obsessed with that thing and treat the other thing as a hobby. Number five, engineer your environment. Obsession is a lot easier when your environment reinforces it. So find people, find content, find routines that support your obsession. Everything should point you in one direction. If your obsession is with cycling, stop hanging around with tennis players. Hang around with more cyclists. Stop watching videos about football and watch more videos about cycling. Immerse yourself in environments that reinforce your obsession. Imagine Ronaldo on an empty pitch. Da Vinci alone in the dark studying the human body. Kobe Bryant alone in a silent gym. There was no applause, no recognition, no validation. Just repetition of the same thing over and over. Greatness is not built in moments. That is when it is shown. Greatness is built in isolation, in the hours that no one sees. And that is the truth about obsession. It doesn't feel like success while you're in it, it feels like sacrifice. But one day, the world is going to call it greatness. And only you will know what it took to get there. My name is Hertz Fauzan, and I am your conductor on the Train of Thought podcast. This video is directed by Latifa and edited by Akura and Zaidan and produced by Wole Oginon, with special thanks to the entire Train of Thought team. From all of us to you, I'll see you on the next train.